I think actually what I have found in my own personal experience is that often subjects want their story told and usually are very grateful that you've come to tell the story, hopefully sensitively and hopefully well and thoughtfully. If anything, if you're really dedicated to a story, you go back after 10 years, you go back after every year, and you're knee deep in it and you're knowledgeable so that you keep telling that story. And I think at least what people tell me is they're grateful that you've kept the story alive, that you're advocating for the city, you're advocating for a story to be told. Hey, I'm Soledad O'Brien. I'm a journalist, I'm a philanthropist, I'm a mom. So, all right, Redditors, ask me anything. I think actually for both of them, the main thing is we're way out from the election, and we're at that stage where everyone has to one-up each other and be crazy and over the top because that's how they get press, and how you get press is how you don't have to spend your own money to try to, be seen by people. And so I think that we're just way early on it. If the last go-around is any example, saying inflammatory, over-the-top things works really well in the primary, comes back to bite you in the ass in the general election. So I think that's something that Donald Trump's people might want to think about. But as a journalist, it's amazing. It's incredible to watch what's unfolding. Number one, have a plan. I usually write out my questions and really think specifically about what I'm trying to get them to say. What's the point? What is the goal? Why this person? Why are they on? Why did we book them today? Ditch the first question, which is usually lame anyway. Go right for the second question, which is usually kind of going for the jugular fast. And then I think it's also about listening. I used to be so nervous when I do interviews that, someone could admit to killing their mother, and I'd be like, oh, okay, anyway, next question. And you realize you have to listen, and you have to be calm enough and thinking enough that you can listen and formulate your next question and follow the interview, which sounds really easy, but it's actually kind of hard. So it's about really knowing where you're going, doing tons of research, ditching the lame questions, and then listen so that you can really participate thoughtfully in the interview. I would really love to, there's a million, obviously, right? Who wouldn't want to have the Jesus Christ interview? God. But I think an interview that I never got to do that I could have done, certainly time-wise, would be Fidel Castro. I think there's just a lot, now that I've spent a lot of time reporting in Cuba, covering Cuba. I'm Cuban American, my mother's Cuban, left Cuba before Castro came into power. There's so many things personally that I'd be interested in understanding, especially now. So I think he'd be someone who I'd love to have interviewed years ago when I went to Cuba for the first time when Pope John Paul II was there, and we were all camped out, and he used to hold these ridiculously multi-hour long press conferences where he'd just talk extemporaneously, and he'd be holding a mic out for 3 hours like this. But I would have loved to, at that time, gone into a back room and really sat down and asked the questions that I wanted to ask about Cuba before the changes that we've seen to Cuba. The interview I did with Michael Brown post-Katrina, it was, I think, the Friday after the storm, so about 5 days after the storm, and FEMA had been in, and he had done such a disastrous job. And we did an interview where really, it was a really great example of sort of a hold 'em accountable type interview, where he just was bragging about all the things that they had done, and we were able to talk about all the things that they hadn't done because we had been knee-deep in Katrina coverage.
We're hearing people's frustration. There are people that are beginning to manifest themselves out of the community that we didn't know that were there.
Why are you discovering this now? It's 5 days that FEMA's been on the ground. The head of police says it's been 5 days that FEMA's been there. The mayor, the former mayor, putting out SOSs on Tuesday morning, crying on national television saying, please send in some troops. So the idea that, yes, I understand that you're feeding people and trying to get in there now, but it's Friday.
And to me, it was kind of a textbook interview for just how you hold someone accountable and speak to them respectfully, show them what you do know about the situation because you're knowledgeable, and then realize like there's a fair amount of power in an interview if you can do it right. So I think that probably was the first one where I felt, wow, if this is done well, you really could do an interview that's powerful and can move people and have an impact. I just think you can't really be knocked off your game by worrying about what other people are thinking about you. You'll spend a lot of time. I just don't bother. I mean, I don't really care if people like me or not. I don't really care how they feel about what we're doing. The only thing I have to do is execute on a good interview or a good report. In terms of assignments, yeah, I think that people are the ones who assign you are human beings, and so human beings bring their biases with them. So when I was reporting, for example, in Haiti, I'd get a lot of questions about what's it like to be a mom reporting in Haiti. It's like there are people dying all over the place. What do you think it's like to be a human being in Haiti at this moment? It had nothing to do with being a mom. No, I actually think all of those groups get very little coverage, or they get very cliched, stereotypical coverage, right? I don't think there's some huge effort on mainstream media to be digging into the issues of transgender youth. I think it's done as a special once in a while on one network, maybe, and then never to be revisited again. I think all of them are getting screwed, basically, by having very little coverage and in categories that are very stereotypical. Latinos are going to be immigration, transgender is going to be, Caitlyn Jenner, and blacks are going to be crime, maybe sports, and, no one really wants to dig into the myriad of stories. It's one of the things I really liked about doing Black in America as a doc and Latino in America as a doc. You got to dig into people's very nuanced stories and tell a different story that existed with all the other stories. The tone around immigration is just nasty. It's hostile. It's unfortunate. It happens every 4 years, like clockwork. Everybody starts up again against this really anti-immigrant sentiment. And so I think that's very disheartening, and I think it plays a role in the election. I think even though Latinos don't vote on immigration as their number one topic when they're polled, I think it absolutely does play a role, and I think that candidates who alienate the Latino community often pay for it later at the polls. One, it was really years ago when I used to do the Today Show. Every so often I get a chance to fill in with Matt Lauer, and I, when someone was out on vacation. And he used to do this terrible thing when you would have to come up with a name, like you're reading off the teleprompter, let's say Ahmadinejad, right? And he would literally poke you in the hand with a pen, and right before you say it, he'd do Ahmadinejad, Demadinahad, and try to mess you up, and you literally, so everybody think that team was very nice and kind. You're a newbie filling in, and they try to screw you up to do it. But it was very funny. It was a really nice, tight group of people, and really, really fun to be part. Years ago when I was anchoring Weekend Today, to be part of that whole family was a lot of fun. A million things. We have a documentary that's airing on Al Jazeera America that's called Heroin USA. It airs on the 27th, and it's a look at the heroin problem across this country, focused specifically in the Ohio, Kentucky areas where our reporting is. Amazing story looking at 3 people who are knee-deep or waist-deep or neck-deep in heroin addiction and what they're doing to try to get themselves out. Our Latino in America tour will kick off on the 28th of September at FIU in Florida, and very excited to have a conversation that includes really what Latinos are thinking about as we head into the 2016 election. And then continuing to report, doing some projects for PBS NewsHour we're really excited about, and working on some big docs, both domestically and overseas. Did I leave anything out? Well, I think I got almost everything. So we're busy. Busy. thank you for the questions. Don't forget to check out IamLatinoInAmerica.com if you're interested in our national tour. And also our documentary airs on the 27th called Heroin USA. It airs on Al Jazeera America.